Washington, the First Lady. Note the scarf she wears. It symbolizes the role of First Lady. You'll be seeing a lot of it in this show. Fetching, isn't it? Martha was a humanitarian.
I loved slavery. Loved it.
When her husband died, she freed all her slaves.
Because George was gone, and I'm afraid of black people.
Martha was considered a patriotic and selfless First Lady.
I felt like a state prisoner. I hated it. Hated it. Hated it. Hated it.
Martha Washington. Beauty. Grace.
Hey baby, I sure do miss you, but I've got lots to say, so you better listen up. You desire I should ride and I comply with your request. I'm only running a whole farm and raising the kids at your behest. While you head off to rule with the man in distant towns, may I not come to see you? I'm feeling pretty down.
Remember the ladies. Remember the ladies.
Remember the ladies in your code of laws all new. You best invite more people in to make what you say be what you do.
Remember the ladies.
John.
Remember the ladies.
Hey John, I let you take the oath of office. So lately I regret it. Some call me Mrs. President, but those folks are pathetic. As you lead in a brand new nation, make sure all people can rise so we can live in liberty, no longer be minoritized.
Remember the ladies.
We'll be free from tyranny without a single drop of violence. We'll stomp your authority.
Remember the ladies.
Start giving us a due. You better share the power, son, or our rebellion will be true.
Remember the ladies.
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 The ladies, the ladies, the ladies. Ow! Yeah. Hey, don't forget all the ladies who push for revolution right beside you. Deborah Sampson found her chest and entered battle without fear. Molly Pincher cared for everyone. Phyllis Wheatley pushed for abolition. Sybil Buddington mounted her horse and the Alpha Remember the ladies. Others underneath your shoe eventually will rise and we're coming after you. Remember the ladies. Your time is almost through. Better watch out for Jefferson. That man is way too smooth.
Thomas Jefferson's wife died 10 years before he became president. In 1801, the role of First Lady was undefined by government or society.
So who was his first lady? Was it Martha Jefferson, his daughter?
Or Sally Hemings, a black woman Jefferson owned and mother of his children. We've tentatively agreed
To tell the story together. In 1787, they were 14 and 15 years old, and Sally was sent to Paris as Martha's lady's maid.
Sally was the daughter of Martha's mother's father and his body slave, so biologically Martha's aunt, and also her property.
But they were close like sisters.
Theoretically.
In Paris, Martha was sent to be educated at a convent.
Sally was kept in Jefferson's luxurious hotel room alone with him all week. She was pregnant by the age of 15.
In 1776, the age of consent was 10.
That's not doing what you think it's doing.
I'm not saying it was okay. I'm just saying it was normal.
It was incest and child rape.
And tradition. The Jeffersons have had sisters, aunt, ladies, maids for generations. Our family tree branches in, not out.
We agreed you would let me lead.
I'm sorry. I'm weeping. That was fast, but I can really feel it.
I'm muting you.
I was a motherless child, raised by a charming, arrogant genius. I was allowed to marry for love as long as I chose someone very rich. He ended up being an abusive drunk who did not inherit.
I was pregnant by my owner cousin, who was a man more than twice my age. But I was in France, and in France, slavery was illegal. I could not be compelled to return with him to slavery.
I had the first baby ever born in the White House, but it was probably to keep my husband from beating me into miscarriage.
My brother and I could have demanded our freedom, but what then? Hang out in France, unemployed black folks trapped in Les Miserables?
I returned to my father's house and spent the rest of my life cared for by...
I cut a deal. I would return if he freed our children and then freed me.
Hello, audience. Ladies. I'm Thomas Jefferson, and actually I served as my own First Lady, doing all my own diplomatic entertaining. From seating charts to wine glasses, I controlled every detail.
But look, it's Mr. All Men Are Created Equal.
I'm just here to provide a little context. The philosophy that shaped the American Revolution was from the Enlightenment, a period where scholars in Europe were shaking off established ideas and embracing science to reshape how society functions. At this moment in history, some Enlightenment thinkers were beginning to argue that women were capital P people, with capital R rights. I remained unconvinced.
Daddy...
Yes, my little cotton ball?
Get out of our play. Jefferson freed each of their children as they turned 21, but never freed Sally. Instead, he left her in his will to Martha,
who could only inherit because Jefferson had no living legitimate sons. When he died, she was left with a mountain of debt.
I mean, she was still a lady.
A pauper lady who suffered.
You know who suffered? The enslaved. Martha could have freed Sally, but did not.
Martha wrote a will that would free Sally upon her own death.
But Sally died first.
I'm so sorry.
Well, that may be true. But I doubt it mattered to Sally then, and it certainly doesn't matter now.
Every Wednesday James Madison was in office, his wife, Dolly, invited all of Washington, D.C. to dine at the Executive Mansion. She offered them food and beauty. It was called the Squeeze because everyone came, different kinds of people crowding in to see this new house, to imagine a new country. It shouldn't have worked. But it did!
That's not the truth.
It worked because of Dolly providing dinner and lighting the candles and choosing the wallpaper. First Lady is not an official designation, and yet everyone seems to know what it should be. The greatest crime a First Lady can commit is to fail to make it look easy. Wow, Dolly made it look easy.
But that's not the truth.
When the British burned the White House, Dolly built it up again. She knew it was the symbol of this little country's strength and food and beauty. Or, rather, slaves rebuilt it, brick by brick. People she owned. Like the family who lived here before her and the family who lived here after.
That's certainly a trick, but it's not the trick.
This play is about the First Ladies, a job that doesn't technically exist. That's the trick! To hold many truths in your mind at the same time.
Exactly 200 years after Dolly Madison moved out of the White House, Michelle Obama moved in. The first lady to be an acknowledged descendant of slaves. And she planted a vegetable garden to give us food and beauty and truth.
After the French Revolution came the Reign of Terror. The Marquis de Lafayette's wife Adrienne was imprisoned by Robespierre.
Ma grand-mère, ma mère et ma sœur ont été guillotinées en juillet dernier. C'est la guerre.
While James went about with his duties as minister to France, I reminded Robespierre that further harm done to the Lafayettes would be viewed with displeasure.
Tu m'as sauvé la vie, en même temps que celle de mon fils. Merci.
When James was made president, I wanted little to do with its protocols. Let my daughter Eliza handle dinner, let James handle decor. All I ask is that the furnishings be French. J'ai toujours préféré notre vie à la française.
D'accord?
The citizens disapproved. They missed my predecessor, the butterfly, the bon vivant.
Quel aveuglement.
I wished to carry myself with dignity. They wished me to be their gracious hostess.
Tu étais digne. Tu étais gracieux.
I was withdrawn, too arrogant, too European, too reliant on my daughter. But the greatest of my sins was that I was not Dolly Madison.
J'étais un prisonnier de la Révolution. Durant mes heures les plus noires, tu es venu me libérer.
I was a prisoner of expectation. Even in my brightest hour, no one could have set me free.
Hello, my name is Rachel. And I married
Rachel.
a monster.
Rachel. I divorce you. Ha ha ha.
But I remarried famous Andrew Jackson. Oh.
Oh, Rachel.
You
Darling
flirt.
Rachel.
Stop it.
Mwah.
It.
Hey, I heard something bad about your wife.
I'm sure the redcoat didn't
Don't
mean.
talk
No.
about my wife like that.
Oh.
Oh, Rachel.
Well, this isn't so bad.
I never divorced you. Big miss. Big miss. Big miss. Big miss. Oh, get away from my wife.
No, Andrew. Andrew.
Stop that.
Can't we just stay home and...
I'm a run for president.
What? No! Oh, no!
Candidate's wife, Rachel Jackson,
Oh,
is a
no!
fat,
Oh!
uneducated bigamist.
Oh, no!
Convicted adultery.
Oh,
Rachel.
Don't you have anything to say to me? Oh,
Dear, I will never forgive my enemies.
Angelica, what do you have to say to citizens who feel your habit of inviting people to the White House and then posing like a statue is arrogant and insulting? Kings and queens do it in Europe, but this is America. We're supposed to be equals.
Let's assume this is how it begins, with a formal education. Your mother dies, and you are taught to be self-reliant. Your father's watchful eye requires a clandestine marriage, but your husband, the soldier, vows to support you by my sword and by my own right arm. You are uprooted from your family to pioneer in the wilderness. You adapt, educate the children, handle the finances, bite your tongue as soldiers tromp their muddy boots through your home with loud laughter. Tribal leaders come to dine. Men you have heard described as geniuses and savages sit at your table, drink from your water goblets, and you practice saying their names in your head because you don't trust your tongue to speak them. Tecumseh, Tenskwatawa. But it was falsehood masquerading as entertainment. Months later, your husband kills them each, leaves their bodies mutilated and unburied, uses their bones to ascend to political office. When the time comes to travel to Washington, you are too sick to join him. You have buried 6 children, and your house feels empty. You are tired of being uprooted and haunted by dreams draped in ghosts. Then it is April. You are packing to travel to Washington when word arrives he is dead. He has only been president for 30 days. No one knows what you say in this moment, but let's assume that you grieve as you place his body next to your father's in North Bend, as you bury 3 more children, as you answer questions and letters and visitors wearing formal attire. Let's assume this is how it ends, with silence, with sadness, with a simple, soft message. You chant it to yourself like a battle cry for your soul, like a prayer for your children, like a farewell to your soldier as your final moments slip past. Be still and know that I am God.
A hostess is youthful and bright. She's also lovely and gracious and light. These days I'm none of those things. I still love John. But if he has to be the president, I'm gone.
I'm charming and youthful and bright.
I also had a stroke.
I'm an actress. I'm famous. All right.
I love my daughter-in-law.
Mom, I love you.
Have fun. Enjoy the politics. Adieu.
They love me.
Yes.
What a great role.
Good.
It's grand.
You can find me in my room upstairs.
I don't know anything. They all just smile and stare.
Too bad I died one day.
It's true.
I died in my room.
But it was time for a very young daughter to bloom.
Oh, okay, sure.
I'm 18, First Lady. Hooray!
Your father married me.
How could he? I'm nearly your age.
Oh, don't look so
You
betrayed.
please them all right now, then you don't in a flash. Enjoy your only privilege while it lasts. I'm dead.
She's dead.
I'm back.
She's back.
On stage.
Will no one notice me?
They love me, and I am the but it is ending soon. They tell me he's through. There's nothing else that I will ever do.
Beyond this brief parade, with no crowds and no flags held high, where the silence is cold and we're married to our homes with little but our memories inside.
Someone decided to write, "All men are created equal," on our country's very first piece of paper. From the beginning, we've been leaving people behind, cutting them out. It was our destiny. But not Sarah's. She was a force of nature. She never had children, and she hated housework. She wouldn't marry her husband until he won a seat in the House of Representatives. And then she became his campaign manager. One half of a 19th century power couple, destined for greatness. Except, she rejected the growing feminist movement. She replaced the White House servants with slaves. She advised her husband to expand into Mexico. They called it Manifest Destiny. There are women who have power, but continue to leave people out. And then the paper remains unchanged. And power is just a dress.
Lord, I come to you in gratitude. This nation was forged in war, and so I thank you for having made my husband a warrior. Battles waged from garrison to garrison, from territory to territory, from tribe to tribe, and I thank you, Lord, for giving me the courage to follow him. For every blade that missed him, for every bullet that passed him by, for every disease, every injury, every misfortune on the battlefield you saw fit to send elsewhere, I thank you, Lord. And I entreat you further. Provide me the will to overlook the consequences of our conquest, an indifference to the pain we inflicted in service to our assumed eminence. For the grief of every widow, for the decimation of each culture, bestow upon me the certainty of our righteousness. And lastly, Lord, grant me the strength to ask you if our penance for our sins, for our slaughters, is for our people to remain at war forever. Because you made my husband the chief of this nation, and then you struck him down where he stood, and I never again knew peace.
Abigail Powers met Millard Fillmore as his teacher and married him 7 years later.
She loved music, reading, and the arts. People referred to her as a scholar.
She kept teaching after marriage, but had to give it up to support Fillmore's political career. It's not clear if she was happy about that or not.
I guess that might make her too complex, right? Like if we talked about her psychological state or the impact of her personality on the arc of her life, she's just a flippin' president's wife, you guys.
Lung inflammation and a broken ankle that never healed properly left her chronically ill.
So she handed off all the social obligations of the office to her daughter, Abby.
And sequestered herself in the Oval Room, curating the White House library.
Damn right she did. The role of First Lady is an afterthought and an impossible expectation. You're screwed no matter what you do. Most of these women hid their private lives, burned their letters, and disappeared from their own shittiest timelines.
But she had influence within the administration and a lot of political clout.
Which makes it difficult to know how much she should be held accountable for his actions.
Like, if you're considered part of the administration during the California genocide, is the separation of families, the trafficking of children, and the murder of 100,000 natives over the course of 2 years on your head? Because maybe it should be.
He convinced Fillmore to ban flagging in the U.S. Navy.
She tried, but failed to get him to veto the fugitive slave.
Ability to secure a nomination for re-election.
She died 26 days after leaving the White House.
Oh, shit! Shit!
Fucking bullshit!
How's everybody doing this afternoon? No, really, how is everybody doing this afternoon? Write it in the chat. Write it in the chat. I don't care if you need to make a Twitch account. Make one so you can write how you're doing in the chat. Could be good, could be bad, could just choose any adjective. What's been your favorite First Lady so far? Write it in the chat. Write it in the chat. Yeah, because I'll tell you what, it's not going to be me. I'm Jane Pierce, and I'm depressing. It's like if Mary Lincoln and country western music had a baby, it would have my eyes. Hey everyone, let's give it up for my husband, Franklin Pierce. This dude loves attention so much, he'd ruin a marriage over it. Honey, why don't you reach under your chair? Reach under your chair. Find a little gift from me. Oh, look at that, it's a bell. Honey, come on, bring that bell on stage. Yeah, get down here. Oh boy, nothing like a afternoon stand-up open mic night, am I right? All right, you see that bell, Franklin? Go ahead and ring that bell anytime I go too dark for laughs, okay? Just rein me in. Rein me in if I get too dark. Use the power you've been given to control the direction of my life, whether I like it or not. Okay. So my kid died. What? It's a setup. Speaking of child mortality, how many dead babies does it take to... I'm just messing with you. So my kid dies. And it's clear to me, as a Christian, that Washington, D.C. killed my baby. Franklin doesn't agree, but hey, to his credit, he quits politics. So, we move back to New Hampshire, I breathe the country air, and my womb, like bam, instantly makes this new baby, and he grows up awesome, and life is pretty good. For 10 years. Fun fact, back then, you could run for president without your wife even knowing. Just by sending letters. Kind of like you're sexting the nanny. So my first thought is, Washington, D.C. kills babies. Say it with me. Washington, D.C. kills babies. I don't want this, but I think, hey, maybe God does. So we're on this train. And the train derails, and our son gets his head ripped off. Just right in front of us. So that sucked. And then I find out that Franklin had been running for president behind my back, so I bail on his inauguration, and he cries while he gives a speech, and the press calls him feminine like it's a bad thing. I go into this like extended goth phase, and Franklin has his own little epic meltdown with all the usual cliches, moping, drinking, signing the Kansas-Nebraska Act. You know, back then, you couldn't get a divorce, but you could freeze a dude out like nobody's business. I died at my sister's house. Funny, right, Franklin?
All right, listen. You've probably never heard of Harriet Lane, and that is a travesty. Harriet Lane was the adopted daughter of President James Buchanan. Harriet's nickname was Hal. She was known for outdrinking men, expert horseback riding, and carrying heavy things in wheelbarrows for sport.
She once taught the visiting Prince of England to bowl, and then, defying women's societal duty to flatter, beat him. She wore a new style of dress, no ruffles and bows, less femme. Everyone copied it. She was described as thick-necked and handsome. Hal couldn't live with James Buchanan because he lived in a boarding house with his best friend and fellow confirmed bachelor, William King, in adjacent rooms for 10 years. Oh, shit. What's that? Did we just have a queer first family in the 1850s? Come on. Now, we don't know if they were lovers in the physical sense of the word, but Andrew Jackson called them Aunt Nancy and Miss Fancy in public and in letters. So, they were life partners, mocked as effeminate, who adopted an orphan tomboy, educated her for leadership, and let her dress and act how she pleased. All that makes them part of my personal queer history, no matter what they did in bed. But then William King died. Poor James Buchanan. The Civil War was brewing, and he had only Harriet Lane. Fortunately, Hal was fucking amazing. She was his closest confidant and diplomatic right hand. She advised him to renounce slavery and create a schedule for emancipation. He did not. When the Southern states seceded, she was sent to plead with the members of his cabinet to stay loyal to the Union. Post-war, she married and had 2 children that died from rheumatic fever. She did not crumble. Instead, she endowed the first pediatric medical center in the United States. By 1930, her hospital had developed the drugs that prevent heart damage during rheumatic fever to this day.
This is a blessing from Harriet Lane. All those who feel orphaned by American history, listen. We are so much more complex than any roles they assign us. Waste no time following rules that leave you feeling powerless. We can overcome any loss, make so much happen, just by being smarter and kinder than they expect. By dressing how you please, not hiding what you're good at, and using all your gifts to make things better for others. This is the lesson of Harriet Lane. Gender is a set of wobbly pins to set up and knock down on your way to doing great things.
Hello, I'm Mary Lincoln. You may have heard that I was committed to a mental institution once. I'm going to share facts about my life. When you hear a fact that makes me sound mentally ill, raise your hand. I heard voices through the wall. When I was 55, I told a doctor that an evil native spirit was pulling wires from my left eye. I threw tantrums when I didn't get my way. When I was 57, I left my hotel room half naked and then sent my belongings to Milwaukee because Chicago was on fire, except it wasn't on fire. That's when they committed me to Bellevue. How many hands? I'm going to read some more cards. Remember to raise your hand when you hear a fact that makes me sound mentally ill. My mother died when I was 6. My son Edward died when I was 32. When I was 44, my son Willie died, and 2 of my brothers were killed in the war. My brother-in-law Benjamin was killed in action when I was 45. My brother Levi died when I was 46. When I was 47 and the war ended, I had one of those wonderful days with my husband. If you're married, you'll know what I'm talking about. Something trips you up from your forgetful haze of grown-up worries, and you laugh like you're dating again. You hold hands and you talk about how your night will end when the kids are asleep. That night ended in the theater. We held hands when the shots rang out. I lost a third son, Tad, when I was 53. My only surviving son, Robert, committed me. He complained I was spending all of his inheritance. I was released from Bellevue after I retained the services of a lawyer named Bradwell. Myra Bradwell. How many hands are raised? Do you want to know how she did it? She just turned public opinion in my favor. Isn't history a funny thing?
The daughter of a shoemaker grows up poor and marries a tailor when she's still a teenager. She sees him walking down the street one day and decides that he is hers. He is semi-literate. By 1835, he's elected to the Tennessee House of Representatives, and they have a little more money, and that's pretty nice. And one day he takes some of that money, which she manages, and he goes out and he buys a person, a girl. And he brings that person he bought home. Her name is Dolly, and Eliza puts her to work. She is 14. If you'd like to do something hard, try parsing the inner life of a relatively obscure 19th century woman born to a family of little importance and married to a man no one wants to remember. If you'd like to do something harder, try researching the person that she owned. What we do know about this girl, Dolly, is that eventually she gave birth to 2 children, both listed as mulatto on the census. And we do not know who the father was. Maybe Eliza knew, maybe she didn't. Anyway, life goes on and Andrew becomes vice president. And on August 8th, 1863, Eliza gathers her household slaves and tells them that they are free. But she says they can stay if they want to. And some of them do. But that is perhaps more of a statement about the fact that there was a war raging and less of a statement about the Johnson household. You've now seen 16 plays about the First Ladies. That is not one play per lady, it is one play per president. It is still the men that give us structure. But at least you learned the ladies' names. Now, when I said Dolly, that was only the second time you learned the name of an enslaved person in this show. That's 2 of the approximately 1,000 human beings owned by the first ladies you've met thus far. These are people who worked closely with the men who ran the country, people who washed their clothes, knew their secrets, people who lived in the White House. Ten of the 16 ladies you've met owned another human being. And the charming girl you're about to meet, she did too. This is a mess. This is still a mess. And it's going to stay here after this play is over.
Ulysses. Something with swagger.
Oh my! Who are you all looking at? I'm nothing special, just your average, everyday war hero's wife and model first lady, that's all. A southern belle with some tales to tell. Who knows where the future may lead, but the heart will always get what it needs. See the games that it plays, the way it behaves, makes you love a Union general, though your family owns slaves. Oh, what can you do when you've got blue and gray blues? How does someone open the door when keeping civil means forgetting the war between the North and the South? Your mind and your mouth, while all around your in-laws can't stop calling you out. Oh, what can you do when you've got blue and gray blues? I'm not sugarcoating it, darlings. Relations between our families were like cats, and even meaner cats. When we got hitched, guess how many grands showed up to the wedding? Groom makes one. When you join him out in the field, that's where your character is revealed, because skilled he may be, but killed he may be, and Ulysses needs his missus to be Penelope. Oh, what do you need when they elect him to lead? And how do you cope with the weight of your hope? Oh, what can you do when you've got blue and gray blues? Be friends with everybody. That's the secret. That was my party trick. That was my bipartisan trick. If that's the first lady you can make of yourself, that's the first lady they'll remember for years. Bring it home, lovebird. Tell me, what could I do? I had those blue and gray blues. Good night.
Hello, audience members.
In this piece, I'll be
The
performing.
most important part.
So follow my voice.
And play close
Lucy
attention.
loved animals.
Lucy loved children.
Although historians
Like
dubbed
so
her
many
Lemonade
people at the
Lucy
White House,
for serving no alcohol at the White House, it was actually Hayes who made the decision. Lucy was against prohibition, but did practice temperance. Although she supported equal education for women and suffrage rights, she never formally joined any movements, believing instead it was important to lead by example. But she did successfully advocate for American businesswomen to be included in an exhibition in Paris, and convinced Hayes to allow female attorneys to argue before the Supreme Court.
Lucy was invited to a luncheon.
She was a mother, through and through.
Let's be honest.
You've inevitably missed something in all of
Lucy has
this.
been reduced.
And not just because we have 26 more plays to get through.
She's been abandoned by history.
Remember that for us, okay?
To Lucy.
Lucy.
My love, I want to build, I want to make. Design a new life with you and partake of half the thrills and half of every pain. Let's do this thing together.
Good Lord, you're talking crazy. Stay home, have kids, be lazy. This nonsense has to stop now. That is my command.
You must mistake me for another bride. Hear my thoughts, I won't be brushed aside. Be my friend, my equal lover, dear, because I really love you.
You love me with sincerity, and my love for you is killing me. This talk of equal treatment, it hurts my soul.
You're free to love. You're free to love, but not to thrive.
You're free to thrive. You're free to thrive inside my love.
You told the suffragists that they were wrong. I bit my tongue and smiled to get along. The higher you climbed up, the more I bent.
And I really like that. I loved being home more. You gave advice to die for. You became so much softer, and I really loved you. You're free to love.
You're free to love, but not to thrive.
We found our way.
I only had to lose myself.
We found our way.
For 11 weeks, I watched while you died. I held your hand, but I didn't cry. The papers said that I was so brave, but I was really frightened. When I was alone, I fought for equal pay. Designed my own home, made my own way. Built the first presidential center because I really missed you. You're free to thrive. You're free to thrive without your love. You're free to thrive. You're free to thrive without your love. You're free to thrive. You're free to thrive without your
Welcome aboard, Vic. Oh, may I be the first to say we are so excited to have you on board as our Chester Alan Arthur.
It's an honor. Thanks. Do I get the, what are they called? The
The
side whiskers. Do I get the side whiskers?
No. But do everything you can to embody the side whiskers, okay? Okay, can I get Brenda out here? Is there a Brenda? Brenda?
Hi.
Hey, listen, I have a question. My understanding is that I'm up for the role of First Lady,
Uh-huh, correct.
but not the role of Ellen Arthur.
Yeah, also correct. Yeah, Ellen Arthur died in January 1880, 10 months before Chester becomes vice president. 6 months after that, Garfield's assassinated.
Is still
Chester's
dead.
president,
Got it.
and
So
Ellen Arthur
I'm...
Yeah. You're Sarah Russa, Ellen Arthur's
I can do
lifelong
that.
friend. Yeah? Okay. And go.
I may be president of the United States, but my private life is nobody's damned business.
When I went
Oh,
to...
no. No. No, that's not
Will you
gonna
still
work.
call my
No.
agent?
Thank you though, Brenda. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for coming in.
Hi. So you want me to play Sarah Russa?
No, you're gonna be Elizabeth Herndon Botts, Ellen Arthur's cousin.
But I'm still First Lady.
Maybe. Sure, we can call it that. Sure. Yeah, okay. And go.
I may be president of the United States, but my private life is nobody's damned business.
I
No.
first.
No. Thank you for coming in. Thank you, though. Bye-bye.
Can I ask why I need to have a first lady? Well,
Interesting.
I mean, it's been
Go on.
about a year, right? Shouldn't I have more time to grieve?
Yeah, I hear you, Vic. I hear you. I hear what you're saying, but it's not about you. No, the people want a first lady. The people and the Washington press want a first lady, and they feel like it should be either Sarah Russo or Elizabeth Hernan Botts or Melvina Hainsworth. Or
Am I early? I'm sorry, the door was open.
No, you're perfect. Hold on. Can I move you just a little? Yeah, yes. Oh, okay. Let's try this. Okay, you're Chester Arthur's sister, Mary McElroy, but you go by Molly. You helped raise Chester's daughter when Ellen died. You keep a low profile, but the staff finds that refreshing. You enjoy horseback riding, hosting White House events, and fighting against women's suffrage until the day you die, okay? Okay, and go.
I may be president of the United States, but my private life is nobody's damn business.
When I went to the White House, I was absolutely unfamiliar with the customs and formalities.
That's it. You've got the part. You got it.
I come home in the morning like my mother says, when you're gonna live your life right. Oh mama dear, we're not the fortunate ones, and girls, they wanna have fun. Oh girls, they wanna have fun. The phone rings in the middle of the night. My father yells, what you gonna do with your life? Oh, daddy dear, you know you're still number one. But girls, they wanna have fun. Oh, girls, they wanna have, that's all they really want. Some fun when the working day is done. Oh, girls, they wanna have fun. Girls, they wanna have fun. I wanna be the one to walk in the sun. Girls, they wanna have fun. When the working day is done. Girls, they wanna have fun. I wanna be the one to walk in the sun. When the working day is done, oh girls, they wanna have fun. I wanna be the one to walk in the sun.
Take care of all the furniture. We'll be back in 4 years. Woo!
Candles are one thing. Dangerous, of course, but at least you know which way they're going to burn. Still, it seemed the right thing to do. Most homes got electricity a decade earlier. So, I did it. Also, I told a medical school I wouldn't give them money unless they admitted women. So there's that too. Maybe they'll remember that my husband was the second shortest president. In height, I mean. Slipped into the presidency and slipped away, and hardly anyone noticed. They won't remember the sound of my piano. It all disappears so quickly. These things we do. But once upon a time, because of me, It was all so bright.
Some boys take a beautiful girl and hide her away from the rest of...
Hey, open the door! Hey, we demand to talk to you! Open up! Hey, we want to talk! Open the door! You bastard! You cost me my job!
I'm starving. I've got no dough, and I need to eat.
Where's the baby? Oh, we want to see the baby.
Ida McKinley loved lace, knitting, and crochet. Active in her youth, Ida suffered a head and back injury. She had seizures and was sometimes unable to use her legs. When other first ladies might have stood or walked or danced, she sat regally in her chair, finding other ways to do her duty. She could not attend charity events, but sent elaborate slippers that she knitted herself to be sold at auction. The administration did not hide her immobility, but made it known that the president was loyal and tender to his wife. Perhaps she liked the symbolism. Many small, fine acts of will, order, and repetition, yielding strength and beauty.
You are granted 4 years. 8 if you are fortunate. That is your window. Opportunity does not always knock, you see. Opportunity may sometimes write a letter. Opportunity may invite you to stroll in the light of the early evening. Opportunity may laugh like the devil and then push you in the path of a train. I ought not to have been First Lady. Theodore chose Alice over me, after all, and had childbirth not taken her, he might not have thought of my name ever again. Or I could have been a vice president's wife whom few remembered, as is the fate of most vice presidents' wives. If not for choices, if not for chances, if not for a troubled fellow in Buffalo who shot 2 bullets point blank into poor Bill McKinley. If. The manner of the invitation is not what's important. What matters is how you dress for the dinner. I will not claim to be most beloved, nor most skilled, most generous, or most quoted in commencement speeches. These are judgments best left to history. First Lady. She who sets the pace and leads the procession forward. I recognize that President's wife is a political appointment, and so I hired my own staff. I cultivated contacts in Britain, and I advised Theodore as he negotiated peace between Russia and Japan. What had previously been called an executive mansion, I hereafter insisted we call the White House. Subtle motions may bring great change given time. We envisioned an America that preserved its wilderness to better preserve its sense of adventure. An America where greed did not grind ingenuity beneath its heel. It was a new century. an opportunity to reflect on who you were and how you appeared, and decide how to fashion yourself in the future. A lady's name should appear in print only 3 times: at her birth, her marriage, and her death. Some women wish to change the order of the world. Others of us are content to provide new definitions to the word order.
Seven haiku for Nellie Taft. 1.
Light casts 2 shadows. One follows and one obscures. Neither are darkness.
2.
Women may be as wind, one companion to mountains, both whispers and gales.
3.
An eagle sees worlds as it soars in the sunrise and dreams of the nest.
4.
And the zephyr learns the diplomacy of storms, words said through thunder.
5.
Should speeches fail us, let poetry be the branch to bridge east and west.
6.
Seeds of fellowship between nations and empires, a pact of arbor.
7.
The tidal basin, cherry blossoms in flower, and each spring hereafter.
My husband, the president, had a stroke, leaving a vacuum of power. Flanders field in blood was soaked, but I was never a coward. The Treaty of Versailles was yet to be signed. The Bolshevik menace was creeping like vines. A League of Nations was our lofty goal, but all could be wrecked on this rocky shore. We couldn't look weak if we wanted peace. So I lead from behind, lead from behind. Intelligent women must lead from behind. I'll suffer insults and slurs unkind. To guard husband and country, I'll lead from behind. What issues were urgent, what wheels would be greased, was a puzzle I daily solved. His support for women's suffrage was greatly increased. What can I say? He evolved. I couldn't be seen to be in charge or look flighty or erratic. Also, I wasn't elected, so it's kind of undemocratic.
It's a bad precedent. We really don't want a first lady colluding with others to conceal that our president is unfit to govern, his body and mind deteriorating daily, leaving the affairs of state to unelected functionaries, and ignoring the clear edicts put in place by our founding fathers to protect us from tyranny. But Edith was kind of awesome at it.
Lead from behind, lead from behind. In the year 2020, it still wasn't time to imagine a woman could handle this grind. In America, women still lead, 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 lead from behind.
Miss Hardy.
Oh, I didn't see you there.
It's widely considered that you controlled your husband's campaign, that he ran every important decision by you, and high-ranking officials would speak to you before speaking to him. How did you get away with that in 1920?
Look behind your ear.
What's this?
My cookie recipe.
Oh, gee, thanks. Where was I?
Just move on.
All right, you don't want kids, you don't wear a wedding ring because it's a symbol of bondage, and you hate cooking, so are the cookies?
Miss Harding, Miss Harding, what's this?
It's called a photo op, and I invented it!
Look at this, and look at this. Look at this.
Yes, that's right. Write a story about me and this dog. Maybe it's a homeless dog. She's so cute and homeless.
Yes, wait, is it true that you had a child out of wedlock?
You don't want to ask me that question.
You're right, I don't want to ask you that question.
Those aren't the stories your readers care about.
Nobody cares, right?
Something's wrong with my connection.
I can't quite see you or hear you, Miss Harding.
Yes, that's right.
Grace.
Rebecca.
One night, Grace was awoken quite late, told to put on her nightgown, and went downstairs to watch her husband get sworn in as president by kerosene light.
Rebecca was delivered to the White House in a cage intended to be eaten for Thanksgiving dinner.
Grace encouraged women to vote by completing her ballot on the front lawn in front of photographers.
Rebecca was known for shrieking wildly when photographers got too close.
After they left the White House, the Great Depression began, and Rebecca was sent to a zoo. But while it lasted,
Hi, Julia, yes?
Yeah.
Julia, can you see these cards?
Yes.
Okay. I want you to follow the lady.
Okay.
People forget she was an academic too, holding her own in a world of men, imagination brimming with stone, steel, and flowers, keeping pace with the great engineer. Where's the lady, Julia?
The furthest on your left.
This one?
Yeah.
Good job. People always underestimate the lady. She was an athlete, a hunter, a socialite, a philanthropist, a bareback rider, rifle owner, boxer rebellion, civilian guard, defender relegated to war committees and women relief funds, nurse, housing assistant, benefactor. Where's the lady?
The furthest on your left again, I think.
And then the world crashed farther and faster than the war she had already survived, and everyone leaned in with scrutiny and suspicion. She paid for every meal, read and answered each letter. People called her aloof, labeled her as spoiled, named her a white woman out of touch with her own saviorism. In the end, a footnote for a girls' society that still doesn't get as much attention as its male counterpart. Where's the lady?
Sticking out on your right.
Men fail, and we get forgotten. Distorted by history, reduced to sidekickery. I keep waiting for that to change.
When she was 2 years old, she was lowered from a steamship into a small lifeboat in the icy Atlantic. She remembered the screams around her and the lurching of the lifeboat for the rest of her life. When she was 2, she was lowered into the arms of her beloved father, and she cried, and even so, her parents got on another ship and sailed away. At some point, she must have decided not to fear, even though fear is never just itself. She landed in a small, unsteady boat. She landed at a typewriter, at a microphone, in front of a camera. She landed in a small, unsteady marriage and became the most famous woman in the world. So she looked around her. She saw people crying. The whole wide world was an icy ocean, and she thought, well, here I am, and I have my hands. She wrote the Declaration of Human Rights for the whole world, inventing the idea that we should all try to catch every person who falls from any boat, every single human on Earth, because we are all here in an icy ocean, and fear is never just itself.
I never cared much for moonlit skies. I never wink back at fireflies. But now that the stars are in your eyes, I'm beginning to see the light. I never went in for afterglow or candlelight on the mistletoe. But now when you turn your lamp down low, I'm beginning to see the light. To ramble through the park, shadow boxing in the dark. Now you came and you caught the spark. That's a 4-alarm fire now. I never made love by lantern shine. I never saw rainbows in my wine. But now that your lips are burning mine, I'm beginning to see the light.
Five, six, seven, eight. I had a career, his name was Ike. Ike runs the country and I turn the pork chops. When Ike was commanding our pinks in Europe, I stayed in D.C. He didn't want to take any special privileges, and I felt it was my duty to pink an example for the other war wives. The Pink House was just the latest in a long line of government pinking that defined our lives. Segregation is bad. I made certain that the pinks who visited the Pink House were integrated pink and pink. My pinkularity was so pink that I sparked a decade-long fad. The pink bathroom. I pinkly believe in pink. Pink is good and shouldn't change with the pink of the pink. America needed pink, pink, and pink, the same pink for every pink. Some called me an advocate for conformity, but isn't that another name for equality? I was pink and pink until the very pink.
Space is synonymous with time, and time with history. So often a critique of the space is a critique of its occupants. From public shabby house to Mississippi riverboat, we carry the weight of history in our hands. Every room should have a purpose. This is where we challenge bondage. This is how we rise from terror. You'll notice here our response to grief, to being scattered like ash and ground into the dirt by important footsteps. This is where we grasp at privacy. This is how we are threatened with damage. This is when we bury our children. Each piece should be beautiful, something to dress the space appropriately. more to look at than to sit in. And when we are done, they will ask our husbands to evaluate our efforts, or simply insert their own assessment of the work we have performed. Our legacy will be we were able to make these men much more alive, and the irony will cling to us like silk.
It started with bullets and red blood on pink wool. And the bullets never stopped, and everything moved fast and never stopped. I never stopped a single bullet. But for each one, I left a seed by the side of the road. So when you're driving and you look to your left and see cornflower blue, and look to your right and see lupine purple, you can think about gunpowder and metal and organic matter and leaves piercing through asphalt, the way bullets tear through flesh and softer things tear through your eyes. Or you can be still in the fields of color. Let death be there with you amidst the shocking beauty.
Hi, Kristen.
Hey.
I'm going to ask you a few questions, and as long as you're in this play with me, you can only answer them with yes or God bless America. Do you understand?
Yes.
Are you a good person?
Yes.
Do you believe I'm a good person?
Yes.
Will you be loyal to me?
Yes.
Do you believe that women can serve on the Supreme Court?
Yes.
Do you believe in equal pay for working women?
Yes.
Are you a good person?
Yes.
Do you believe in taking revenge on your enemies?
God bless America.
Would you drown a bag full of kittens to save the life of a child?
Yes.
Would you vote for a good man with bad domestic policies?
Yes.
How about a bad man with good diplomatic skills?
Yes.
Would you vote for a bad man who had drowned kittens in pursuit of good foreign policy?
Yes.
Do you hate democracy or just kittens?
Oh, God bless America.
Before you answer the following questions, remember only bad people are disloyal. There is a balloon right there. Do you know who popped it?
Yes.
Who?
God bless America.
Are there any bad people in this play?
God bless America.
Are you uncomfortable?
Yes.
Would you like to be invisible again?
Yes.
Too bad. We're keeping your window open until after the first bush.
Betty Ford, our Betty Ford, the woman that we all adored, dancer, speaker, advocate, a quintessential moderate. What was it in her life, you think, that made her turn to pills and drink? Was it her genes and history? The tyranny of chemistry? Was it the pace and lack of rest? Was it the cancer in her breast? The moralists who hoped she'd sway on abortion rights and ERA? Fear that lack of circumspection might cost her husband re-election? How much pressure, how much weight might drive us each to medicate? The power of an addict story will soon attract the predatory, the tabloid press, the whispered slur. There must be something wrong with her. But Betty Ford, our Betty Ford, whose voice could never be ignored, a woman who would go to lengths to turn her weaknesses to strengths, extended hands to those who failed, believed in treatment over jail, bravely brought back into fashion conservatism with compassion, who knew that humans have degrees and you can't say no to a disease. So ask yourselves with all your fury, journalist and judge and jury, was Betty Ford, our Betty Ford, in whom a stronger soul was stored, ever as addicted to the drugs
as we became to cruelty?
Rosalind Carter never said.
Along with Lady Bird, Betty and I lobbied tirelessly in support of the Equal Rights Amendment, the ERA for women, and it passed in Congress, but in 1979, the states did not ratify.
She is a devout, restrained, politic Southern lady who would never publicly say.
My husband once told a journalist that he had never cheated on me, but he had lusted in his heart. It made him look both guilty and weak, and it stuck. He never understood the American people. Americans don't mind if their men behave terribly as long as their intentions are good.
After her husband was defeated for his second term, Rosalind actually said,
I was in such denial. It was impossible for me to believe that anyone could have looked at the facts and still voted for Reagan. My lust was not in my heart. My lust was electoral and clitoral. I had 4 children by my husband, and he's a good-looking man, and I wanted him to win a second term. I crisscrossed the country campaigning, and he stayed in D.C. He honestly believed that the American people would rather see him working to free Iranian hostages than giving a stump speech. He was wrong. And he lost in a landslide to a man who questioned evolution, went on to ignore the AIDS crisis, and cut taxes for the rich and benefits for the poor. Do I sound bitter, angry, disappointed in the electorate?
never in public.
I do not want to hear about the soft power of First Lady. Fuck you.
Rosalind would never publicly swear. She is a deacon at her husband's Baptist church.
Do you know who has power? The voting citizens of these United States. And do you know why? Because it's in the Constitution. And the Constitution, when written, was exclusionary of women and slaves, exclusionary of people held in bondage or trust by other people. And this compromise with morality and personhood, this crack in our foundation, this is why we can't have nice things.
Actual Rosalind has had many nice things, but never equal treatment under the law, because she is a woman. The Equal Rights Amendment has not been ratified to this day. No matter how rich you are, or who you marry, what job you have, how smart you are, because you are a woman.
Come on, Jimmy. Let's go house the poor for 40 years and show these pathetic, hypocritical, know-nothing dingbats what a life of service really looks like. May the loving God forgive you.
Hey, classmate, want to go behind the equipment shed and reconsider Nancy Reagan's legacy?
No thanks, man. I've got a play to perform.
She's been derided as a shallow rich lady who uses astrology to make important decisions and just promoted the Just Say No to Drugs program, while her husband's administration supplied cocaine to fuel the crack epidemic. But wouldn't it be cooler to know the real story?
Didn't she tell her husband to ignore the AIDS epidemic even though her gay friends pleaded with her personally?
She controlled her husband's daily schedule like Edith Wilson. You like Edith. She got her own song. Nancy's anti-drug crusade was trying to save young lives. Aren't all women who wield power feminist? Not just the ones you agree with?
I said no! It's okay to say that some women wield power in ways that uphold the patriarchy. It's okay to say that some people who mean well do bad things. It's okay to just say no!
I'm apple pie and country pearls. I'm lemonade and silver curls. I'm a rich New England tough cowgirl, and Nancy Reagan makes me what? I'm Barbara Bush.
She's Barbara Bush.
I'm sensible, tough as leather, glued to a family that sticks together. I'm an inexpensive, simple dresser, and stay out of politics altogether.
They love her for it. They just adore it. Everybody's grandma. She's Barbara Bush.
I wear my judgment like a crown, kill your spirit with a well-aimed frown, eat too much and I'll put you down, people can cry when I'm around.
She's Barbara Bush, don't. With Barbara Bush, she'll. Your face don't. With Barbara Bush.
I live to serve my man's success. He left me alone to rule the nest. Women's lib left me depressed when I realized I got no respect. He ran for office and away from home, my only love. He loved to roam. He lost to Clinton and I got him alone. Did I mind so much? You'll never know. I swallowed it all, 'cause duty called. Just like your grandma.
She's Barbara Bush.
After she poisoned every single chocolate chip cookie in America.
And killed Vince Foster.
And gnawed Bill's penis off with her teeth.
And had lesbian sex with the ghost of Eleanor Roosevelt.
And drained every man of each drop of testosterone and every penny in their investment account.
And scolded you for not eating your greens.
And gave you detention.
Hillary was tired.
The world was a hollowed out and burning hull of its former self.
And there was nothing left to do.
So Hillary lay down.
And she thought, you win. You were right about me. Every single thing that every person who has never met me has thought about me, it's all true. I was put on this earth to empty the sky of light and force you to do your homework.
And finally, she exhaled.
Her body came apart.
The bones broke.
Cracked by decades of screams held inside.
And the last little girl on Earth,
who told her teacher she wanted to be
a monster too,
emerged from behind a crumbling tree.
Peered into the chasm.
And screamed. Excuse me, are you Laura Bush?
For our purposes, yes. How can I help you?
If I wanted to know more about your childhood, where would I look?
That would be under history.
And how you met your husband?
Romance.
And how you helped him quit drinking?
Self-improvement.
And if I wanted to know more about your role in his campaigns for higher office?
Political science.
Perfect. And what if I wanted to learn why a woman so committed to education remains loyal to a party that routinely undermines the public school system? Or why she has nothing to say about Texas school boards twisting textbooks to promote a white conservative Christian ideology? Or how she feels about the No Child Left Behind Act, which did in fact leave behind many, many children?
This sounds like pop psychology. I assume you have a thesis you're trying to support?
I do.
And that is?
That you, Laura Bush, despite your image as a pious, smiling, southern small town school teacher and librarian, didn't do as much as you should have to guide your husband's education policies.
It's a strong argument. Now, mind you, one might hear that and ask, what right does anyone have to demand such things of the First Lady? One might observe that the American people tend to react harshly when women exercise influence over powerful men. One might argue that my high approval ratings have much less to do with my personality and much more to do with the fact that I avoided contradicting my husband in public.
This is under gender studies, isn't it?
It certainly is.
And we're live.
Even though I'm wearing this, please don't try to imagine me as Michelle Obama, because I'm not pretending to be her. At the top of the script for this role, it says that I have to sound totally like myself. So, unless I sound like Vic talking to you right now and not like I'm reciting memorized lines, then I've failed. So, my task is be yourself while playing a role. It's simple. It's impossible. Michelle Obama is universally described by the people who meet her as real, down to earth, authentic. Have you ever wondered how hard it must have been for her to stay real? I think she gave us a clue when she said, remember the onstage celebratory fist bump between my husband and I that was referred to as a terrorist fist shot? And over the years, folks have used some pretty interesting words to describe me. One said I exhibited a bit of updeism. Another said that I was one of my husband's cronies of color. She also once said, every time in my life when I tried to do something, there were folks around me telling me why I couldn't. She must have felt that way when she fought childhood obesity, when she brought grocery stores to food deserts and made healthier options cheaper at Walmart, and helped veterans and their families improve their well-being and careers, all while inspiring more kids to stay in school. And as a community affairs leader at the University of Chicago Hospital, and as a lawyer, and as a black woman, a poor black woman from the south side of Chicago who dared to apply to Princeton. Michelle didn't aspire to be First Lady, and I did not ask to play this role. But here's the thing. The enormity of every play I'm cast in, the lines I have to remember, and the difficult tasks that are asked of me, even when they scare me, they don't stop me. They compel me to dig deeper and be better for all of you. If I could ask Michelle advice about this play, I think she'd say, Do what makes you feel good. Whether the choices are hits or misses, at least they are your own. And I think to myself, how simple and yet impossible. But it would give me the strength to show up every day and try for all of you.
There was a moment when we collectively held our breath, gulped the air, squeezed our sides, and waited to see what would happen. We witnessed, for the first time ever, a first lady reach to be president. And no matter whether we were feeling worried or hopeful, disappointed or afraid, we stood in the tension of history expanding our possibilities. And then it broke, like cracking open ribs and pouring an ocean through the wounds. Instead, we went backwards, back to a first lady who was so traditional some didn't recognize her, while others were all too familiar with her version of harm. Surface-level optics gave way to pop culture critique, and amidst the analysis of clothing, Christmas decorations, speech-making, and landscaping, we failed to examine how the role of First Lady could be weaponized by someone who embraces complicity.
Hey, Brenda. Hi.
Yes. Hi.
Hello. Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
All right. How are you feeling about where we're at right now?
I feel very tender, and today I have a little bit more energy or strength to kind of keep my little yolk intact as the flames dance around the frying pan. So
yeah, I know.
Yeah. Hey, Vic, Andy, you.
Should we get everyone else in here?
Yeah,
we
Yes,
should.
please.
Robin, turn your cameras on. Wow, cuties. You'll love to see it. I have a question for everyone. I want to know what have you learned from doing this show?
I learned again that there's a lot I don't know. I learned that I know nothing and only a few things that I do know. And I learned that I find it challenging to look at stories that are connected to the government and its past through a joyous lens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've learned that condemning dead white supremacists doesn't do anything for my desire to have living and active white supremacists held accountable.
I feel like, yes to that, first of all. Let's start there.
Yeah, it's like, duh, this has been happening forever.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, as much as white men love to take up space, they're not always the ones doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I've learned that I am still mad.
I've learned that I really hate watching myself on film, and that is definitely connected to how I have been conditioned to value myself as a woman in these United States.
Yeah.
Real talk.
I have learned that women have always made like great strides for all of humanity, even while being constantly underestimated, undervalued, like disrespected, and I'm over it. I'm done. I throw it in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question here from the playwrights for each of you. Our country was formed when a group of citizens decided that the government that they were living under was unacceptable. They rejected it and they were willing to fight. In these 4 years, we have had more women run for and be elected to positions in our democracy more than ever before in our history. Does that make you feel hopeful?
I think lately I've been very precious about my hope because it feels like it's harder to come by.
But I guess I have a little bit of hope when I see that there are women running and being elected, because it reminds me that there are other people who still have hope.
I feel like it's more truthful for me to say I'm hopeful of our youth.
It makes me feel sympathetic and empathetic for all of the women who are in these positions in our democracy now, who still have to fight like hell to maintain it, and who suffer burnout in huge numbers because of the way that they're treated once they get there.
I know that I feel committed, and I know that I feel very motivated.
Take it over and reform it, or burn it down and start over.
I believe we need brand new structures.
Neither of them seem like good options.
There will always be a group of people that want to have more than everyone else.
Burn it all down, child.
Depends on the day.
I come home in the morning like my mother says, when you're gonna live your life right. Oh mama dear, we're not the fortunate ones, and girls, they wanna have fun.